Joining us now is Jason Dunn, former Kansas City Chief and Eagle, from the Chiefs Concerns podcast, joining us here in the zone. Jason, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I've enjoyed watching you and the podcast, and you and Marcus, I think, do a great job. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to having you on the show. And you were at camp last week or late last week, and so, you know, one of the things I was thinking is, you know, you're talking about different guys that you see. Are you, when you go back to camp, and I know now that you're doing the analyst part of it as well, but when you go back to camp and you watch practice, are you ever able to sort of take off the former football player hat and just sort of enjoy watching guys practice? Or is it always, no, I'm analyzing this guy, what's his footwork, what's the technique look like over there? It's just who I am. I'm just going to be watching football.
Well, I tell you what, it's hard not to just watch them, you know, practice and play without being pleased with what's going on. I think you had to take it all in, and that's what I did the past couple of days. I went out there Friday and Saturday, had a wonderful time to my grandson and my niece and my nephew out there, and they had a ball too. So I enjoyed watching them enjoying practice as well. For me, you know, I'm a player. You know, I've been a coach, and so sometimes the analyzing guys, like you said, techniques and whatnot, is just part of who I am. But I have been, had a chance to really kind of enjoy the atmosphere somewhat.
Yeah, which is good. The pictures were great and seemed like it was really cool for, you know, your grandson and nieces and nephews. One of the things that you were talking about, and I brought it up last week, is, and I've mentioned it a couple times, with Josh Simmons specifically, and obviously that's been a huge conversation that's been going on around town. And we hear about, boy, what a great athlete. Oh, you can see he's a good athlete, a really good athlete. And you know, watching football the way that I watch football, not having played it, not having played offensive line or understanding the roles of blocking, one of the best blocking tight ends in the game was you, Jason Dunn. And so you talked about Josh Simmons, and you were talking about how he was in his drop and, you know, meeting the defensive end. And you said, you know, how low his hips were to the ground. And honestly, Jason, that's the first time that anybody sort of explained it in a way that was like, no, this is why the athleticism is standing out, because the guy's 300 plus pounds and he's not just quick to get back there to the spot to meet the defensive end and be off balance. Like, he's back there ready to anchor if need. Like, speed to power is so huge in the NFL now. And so I thought that was really interesting in an actual explanation of, no, this is the athleticism. This is what sticks out with Josh Simmons, why even some techniques and specific one-on-ones can actually, you can glean something from that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for a former player, I did a ton of pass blocking in my day with some of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And just kind of watching Josh, and I play with Willie Roaf. You know, when I see, you know, Will Shields, John Tate, and those guys, I see a lot of similarities as far as, like, with Josh, what he has in him. And a lot of it is pretty much kind of his solid foundational, you know, footwork. And it's clean, it's precise, the way he's no racing movement. And I said it's kind of smooth like butter the way he's moving back. But I said, like, there's a pattern to how guys, when you block, goes and how it sounds. And I was like, it's like a pitter-patter, pop, 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 pop. And so the thing is, when you ever see a lineman kind of overstep and he steps back trying to catch a guy, Josh Simmons, because of his weight distribution, stays low to the ground. And that's just something I think is just kind of natural. Coaches, once they get him, are probably looking at like, man, we got a gem right here with a guy that has this natural ability to just stay low as far with leverage. But, man, the way he engages also from that, like you were talking about, the power, is something that is incredible. You don't see that a lot out of most guys coming in the NFL, let alone guys that's been in for a long time. And so I think that's something that's very encouraging. I thought he was the best tackle in the draft, and I'm going to always stick with that. And what he's been able to do so far in camp, man, has shown that the Chiefs have probably got the biggest steal of the draft this year.
Interesting. Jason Dunn is our guest. You mentioned some of the things that you see in him and being around some of the best. Do you see some Willie Roaf in besides Josh Simmons being able to walk between plays? I mean, I don't see Willie Roaf when Josh Simmons walks around. But is there some of that sort of athleticism that we saw Willie Roaf be able to do some of the things he did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's one thing about Willie. Willie was such a big guy. He took up a lot of space. But his athleticism, and like I said before, his footwork was impeccable. And I've seen a lot of similarities in Josh and that. And so what you really don't have, I think it's almost like oxymoron because calling a tackle athletic, right? And those things just don't quite go together. But when you have rare guys like a Willie Roaf and a Josh Simmons, you do see those parallels. And so I think it's something that Josh Simmons has been touted about from when you hear Nagy talk about it, Jason Kelsey talk about it, offensive line coaches, they speak about how he engages and how fast his feet work. I tell you this. I said this when I watched this film. It looks like he stalks guys down in the secondary, which is hard for a tackle to do. Tackle usually didn't want to go block in space, but Josh Simmons, it seems like he welcomes it.
Interesting. Jason Dunn is our guest, Chief Concern Podcast, former Kansas City Chief. And what's, a couple of weeks ago, the morning show had Noah Gray in, and, he got the new contract last year before training camp, and it was like, all right, they clearly believe in Noah Gray. He had a couple really good weeks, the 4 touchdowns in 2 weeks, and I just feel like he's been an not undervalued maybe from the Chiefs, but undervalued maybe from others, because I don't know that I've seen him drop a pass, like, ever. Like, if it's thrown to him, he catches it. It's just unbelievable. And he's a guy that you guys have some things in common, and I was thinking about this in talking with you, that, you played behind a Hall of Famer in the best tight end in the league, and, a guy, viewed as the greatest in Tony Gonzalez. And Noah Gray is playing behind Travis Kelce. You guys aren't necessarily the same type of players, but you have sort of the same sort of view from whether the team or the fans of, like, okay, how do you play off what this guy presents? And as in the tight end room, like Noah Gray, I think would be a really good player on other teams. He's on this team behind Travis Kelce. And I think it might be difficult for some just to simply accept that role if they feel like, man, I could have 60, 65 receptions if I was somewhere else. Instead, I'm here behind Travis Kelce, but playing that role and playing it well. I thought it interesting that both you guys have played behind some of the greatest that ever did it.
Well, I think Noah Gray brings his own type of game to the table. What he's able to do is exceptional. Moves really well. Can block, get open. He's learned some things from Travis, but he had this type of cachet when he came out of Duke University. That was one of the guys, actually, I was hoping that the Chiefs was going to be able to draft, and lo and behold, they did. But you're absolutely right. When you're talking about a complimentary role with the Travis Kelce, and I always said this, Dick Vermeil probably said it the best. He says, Jason, you're not a B player. You're a 1A, 1B type of deal. Noah Gray will be a starter anywhere else in the NFL. There's no question about it. And so when you look at these things, you kind of take it in. I've said this, and I'll keep saying this, but we got the best tight end room in the business in the NFL. It's not even close. And so when you see Noah Gray, who had 5 touchdowns last year, 40 catches, he's just been able to improve, his role in this offense. And I think the coaches understand the value that he has. And it's kind of hard. It's tough when other teams don't quite know who their guy is. But when the fans know who he is, the team understands it, they understand his value. He got rewarded with a nice contract. I think that speaks volumes of exactly, who he is as a person, but also, too, like you said, a value to this team.
Visiting with Jason Dunn, former Kansas City Chief, now with the Chief Concern Podcast. The preseason reps, Chiefs get preseason game number 1 coming up, and Andy Reid has had a certain way of how he plays starters, or, how long they play starters. Other teams have gone about it by just not playing their starters at all. And news came out of Cincinnati today or yesterday that, the rough starts for the Cincinnati Bengals, how they have been bad in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, that Zach Taylor's record is 1-11 in the first couple of weeks. He has not played starters. And now he's going to go the Andy Reid route. The starters are going to play this weekend or tomorrow night. And then week 2, the starters are going to play maybe a quarter and a half. He's changing things up. For you as a former player, what do you think of when you see guys that are like, all right, these guys are not going to play in the preseason at all. It's just going to be practices, versus what Andy Reid's tactic has been, in that the way we get ready for football is to play football.
Absolutely. I think it's an antithesis is actually what you're trying to achieve. Sometimes, those guys still need to get game ready. They still need to get that pace of what regular season looks like. And what you're doing is you're putting behind the 8 ball by not putting these guys in these games. Stop saying these guys are going to play an entire half. I mean, you just give them a quarter, let them get them, lathered up a little bit and see how everything is. And I've seen that article you were talking about, and I agree with it 100%. So when, you start analyzing where the Bengals have been able to do, and it takes them a long time, everybody's wondering, scratch their head. Well, these guys haven't played. Everybody's sitting on the sideline drinking Gatorade and, smiling to the camera.
Yeah.
Well, these guys need to be out there on the field.
Yeah.
You need to start doing something, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you get so worried about, injuries will happen. It's like, injuries can happen in practice too. You do the joint practices, injuries can happen there. We see it all the time with guys getting injured in practice.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's just part of the game. I mean, it's just what happens. And Andy Reid sort of has taken that approach of, I'm not going to be scared to get ready for the season because of an injury. If it happens, we adjust and we move on. But I'm also not going to start off 0-2 because we were worried about guys getting injured in the preseason.
Absolutely. And I think if you take the approach of putting guys in bubble wrap, right, and trying to sustain them, then guess what? Then those guys are not going to be physical enough. They're not going to, like you said, they're going to start at 0-2. The speed of the game and whatnot is they still have to catch up to it. And so what we've been able to see, now what I've seen out in practice, I said this on my show on Chief Concerns, I said, man, these guys look like they're in season form right now. Just as far as like with the tempo of how they're playing, purposeful reps that they're doing. You see it. I know I felt it. And I said this training camp going up there too, and I've been to different camps in the NFL. This one seems very different. It really does. So that has a lot to do with Andy, kind of talking to him, Spags, and then of course when you have Travis and you have Patrick and Chris, those guys know what it takes to be a championship team. The cohesiveness that they've displayed, what they're doing out in practice, how they finish every single play, it speaks volumes. I think everybody's kind of taking that bug and realize and understand, look, a championship is what they're looking for. They're not trying to get to the playoffs. Championship is all it is.
It's interesting. Gerald McCoy last week with NFL Network was at a Chiefs training camp, and they're doing their inside training camp tour that they're going on. And he took his son to Chiefs training camp as they're going to different camps. And his son's a defensive tackle. I mean, my God, he looks like Gerald McCoy. He's like 10 years old, and he's ready to play. It's great. And he was like, look, you got to watch Chris. I brought him up here. It's Chris Jones, and here's some guys that – but it was interesting. He said on their segment on Inside Training Camp, and he said, what I said to my son is we're at this training camp. He said, watch these guys practice. Look at how they're practicing. They've been to other training camps, but look at how they're practicing. That's a championship team. That's what a championship team practice looks like. I thought that was really interesting from Gerald McCoy to say, I specifically pointed it out to my son. When we watch these guys practice, this is a little bit different. This is what champions look like.
Yeah, I could echo the sentiment. I mean, seriously, when I'm talking about just how they do things, how they move around practice, it just doesn't seem like everybody's just lollygagging around, just moving around slowly. Like they're moving from place to place every time the horn is blown. And like I said before, they have a clear direction as far as like where they want this to go. And so what you're seeing out there, at least at practice, you're seeing Patrick Holmes, who's been in the league for a number of years, with Travis Kelce, and they're flying around. Travis goes, he scores. Patrick is down there celebrating with him. He's down there celebrating with Xavier Worthy on the deep ball. You see Chris Jones, who's taking extra reps. You see him on the side working out after practice is over. And you just don't get that from other camps. Other camps, when a guy's done, he gives his hammer to the manager and he says, walk up the hill for me. And when I see these guys out here with the Chiefs, they're working on their stuff after practice.
Yeah.
I see it on the indoor facility. Some of the things, I'm going to cover it a little bit today. But when I'm watching them watch the judge machine and in the weight room and getting the treatment that they need, this is, without a doubt, a direction that is different from everybody else.
How much is that? Sorry to interrupt, but how much is that from the coaching staff, and how much is that the players that drive that?
I think it's both. I think it's really a mindset that the coaches try to ingrain into the guy. But this is the reason that you draft particular guys, because you understand that they have a mindset that they are champions. That's why you have, all the interviews that you do in, at the combine and, meet them at the Senior Bowl and bring them in to try to get to know a guy.
Yeah.
And all those things are vital to your success because you want a guy that understands the process it takes to get to a championship team. And you want guys coming from championship programs. So I think Andy Reid does a great job of doing that as far as the vetting process. But also, too, you need to get the right guys here to understand exactly what it means for the championship mindset.
Jason Dunn, Chiefs Concern podcast. Jason, thank you for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. Love the observations and the takeaway from what you're seeing there at camp, and enjoy the show. Thank you, Jason.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. There's Jason Dunn, former Kansas City Chief and Philadelphia Eagle for a few years, EKU, Eastern Kentucky in the house.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.